Okay, I'm going to make a video of some constitutional things that you need to know, and I'm going to explain why they're doing this border thing that's in direct correlation with basically all of the people wising up. So, but before I start on the Constitution, I need to tell you that I've got so many constitutional books now, and I mean, these are just a few. I've got 10 of them. And in these 10 that I have, there's not one sign of what is referred to as the Nobility Clause. And when you talk to the authorities, they say that it was never truly ratified. I'm going to go over all of that, but I'm just telling you, it's the biggest lie ever heaped upon the people of this country. Now, having said this, you need to understand one of the reasons that the people of this land, I'm talking about white people who have it now, have been given the chance to have it is because of their Constitution and the way that they brought in, treatment of all people and taking into everybody's consideration, republic points of view. But you need to understand, prior to that, you can use your common sense to figure out what I'm going to tell you. Whites were not a part of Australia. In fact, the number of dark-skinned people that they have tortured and tormented there is shocking. And let's not forget where all those people came from that are there in Australia and New Zealand. That's, people from the prisons in Great Britain. Now, also understand, I just had one of my students come back from there, and he told me that people in Australia are much taller than people from this country, for example. And I said, well, that's interesting. I said, there is a recipe on how you make giants. And, you can look it up for yourself in the book of Enoch, but basically it's when angels mate with, men, or rather daughters of men. So just know, those are how you got the giants from the Old Testament. And if we did a little bit of study, we'd find in the Targum of Palestine a lot more instances where they're willing to talk about it. But the reason you don't find a lot of info is because they want you to go look at books like Jasher and Jubilees and the book of Enoch, who used to be in the Bible, along with all of your apocryphal books that used to be in the Bible, that Christians actually themselves took out of the Bible, which would have been your British citizens and or the British Commonwealth citizens. But in my mind, that tells you who the daughters of the great harlot are. And, some of them books had no business being tampered with or taken out or any of that, because they got valuable information in it. But when you start to go look in the book of Esdras, which is actually Isra, and the reformation of the Second Temple and all of that good stuff from Persia, Daniel going to Persia, and then we get the book of Daniel. Well, we get the three wise men from Persia. Think about it. Anyway, white people were not supposed to be under the snow line. And when I say under the snow line, there's a section around the earth in both the northern and, in both the inner and the outer circle of the earth that literally are 4 seasons. Now, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about places like Canada, like, for example, where it snows up to 9 months out of the year. And so we have a thing in Florida called snowbirds. They don't want to live there. They'll live there in the summer, but they don't want to live there in the winter if they can afford to come down to Florida. Well, so that's what they do. That's how it's done there. But if you look in Northern Europe, same thing. Iceland, Northern Europe, and Russia is a tremendous volume of land. But you can see for yourself, again, white people were supposed to be in the cold lands. I used to say a lot, white people are like yeast. They put them in the cold land so they didn't multiply. Yeah. But now, for some reason, because of our Constitution, that the left is trying to get rid of. I'm not saying that the right won't help them do it. They want it to look like there is a difference between the left and the right, so that you will get upset enough after this election when you see what they're going to do, that it starts, a civil war. Now, part of the civil war will be against, left and right. But just understand, before you get goaded into this war, that 85% of the people are leftists. I don't care what you think they vote and what they say they're going to vote for Donald Trump. They are unclean spirits, or at least attached to the spirits. And you can say, well, there's no way all the spirits could be unclean, is there? Well, let's see how that bears itself out over the next 4 years. Because apparently you're going to get to see the whole thing, or at least part of it. And then you can make up your own mind. But just know that either way, unclean spirits are connected to the Freemasons. And they are definitely the ones who rule this place. That's part of what I'm going to get into on my video today. But I'm not so sure that white people even belong here, because this is the choice land from the Book of Mormon. And it's highly possible that the Olmecs, the Olmecs, were literally, talking about the Jaredites from the Book of Mormon, were literally the people that, colonized this land. Possibly as far back as 10,000 years ago, though I think it was more like 6. But whatever it was, they've been here all this time up into just a couple hundred years. So how we were able to get this land away from black people, okay, where we control it, is by 2 reasons. And, Black folks, no offense to you and your plight. You have certainly paid enough for anything that happened prior to white people getting here. But it's just that the Book of Mormon says over and over and over again that them that take up these secret societies, these secret combinations, which is what it's called in the Book of Mormon, the Gadianton robbers, just another name for pirates. And, we know that that's what the British were experts on, pirating. It's what they did. The sea people, they may have started over here, but, they ended up in Ireland and Scotland. Even the Vikings from, Europe, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed ones, showed up in Great Britain as well in Scotland. And that's why you have, two types of Scottish people. You've got the redheads, no question about it, but you've also got the black Irish. Okay, anyway, I don't want to get off too far from where I'm going. The point is that white people are descendants of Japheth. They're going to be proselytized by the Shems, the people that had the seasonal land, which makes sense because border-wise, they're bordering each other. And then Ham gets the hot land, the equator land. You understand? And all of that you can find in either Jasher or Jubilees. I can't remember at the moment. It's not on my list today. Anyway, long story short, Japheth are just basically white people who have been proselyted to Israel and Judaism. Now, that said, there's also in the book of Revelation them that say they are Jews and are not and do lie, but are of the synagogue of Satan. Well, that is definitely going to be your white people that claim to be Jews. Like the Queen of England claims that she's a descendant of Adam. I mean, come on, people. Adam, and I put a little clip in here for you to look at later. Adam was a black man. His mother was totally black. Inky, Stinky Winky had to get some of that. And then her friend was a white woman with dirty blonde hair and blue eyes. And that is TT. So you got a Dappa. You got a Dappa who was a black man. You got TT who was a white woman with blue eyes and dirty blonde hair. Okay? Now, the two of them have children. And their children, and it does say in the Targum of Palestine that Cain was not Adam's child. However, he did look like, Abel and all of their other children. So it's highly possible that Samiah, I'm talking about Uncle Sam, you would know him as, was a black person, okay? Was a black, Anunnaki from outside the circle of the, what we call Earth, okay? I can't put my hand on it at the moment. Yes, I can. So just like Atlantis, they're all circles. There you go. Anyway, so what happens if you look at my link that I'm going to put on here? you're going to see that black Adapa and white, blue-eyed, sandy blonde TT are producing a line of children that appear to be Indian, or even possibly better than that, Chinese. But here's the thing, when it says in the King James that I don't know that you'll find that in the Targum of Palestine, but in the King James it says, he was sent off to the east and banished so that, because of his crime against his brother, because he proved to be a murderer of his brother. And so we know in Enki's book, Ningishita, took away his facial hair and sent him to China, which makes sense, but it could be India's, it could be a combination of the two, because again, Adam was clearly not just a black man, he was dark skinned, and he would have been of hominid stock, which explained why he was a more righteous character. He was a soul man. And think about his bone of his bone wife who looks nothing like him. Bone of his bone wife who looks nothing like him. She's a white woman. So what do they mean, bone of my bone? Is that like the blood from the inside the bone? Yeah, because that's where it was taken from. So now think about it. So now you've got two different races, and they're going to procreate and have a line of children that Cain won't be reconciled to Adam, but Abel's, not Abel because Abel couldn't have any children, but his replacement, Seth, who, by the way, says that he was like Adam, but it does not say that he was like Cain. But yet, these all look the same. So what is going on is Cain is Samael's kid, and obviously Samael is a black man. Now, we know that there were some issues within the black community, many times because of Nimrod, and the list just continue to go on and on and on and on. But generally, what happened when Cain started to colonize, now understand, now you've got mostly Rh positives in China. You've got such a little group of Rh negatives, you can't even mention it. But it's mostly Rh positives in China. But these people are clearly, they've been clearly, beginning to colonize around the world. They had a wall that was designed to keep them in. It's uncertain as to who built it. People say, Alexander did that, but that could not have gone on through just Alexander's lifetime. That had to go on for literally thousands of years. That big of a wall. And they all face in towards China. So that's to keep China in, keep them from being let out. Though many of them did show up here in, the American West at different points. Anyway, that's all I'm going to cover about that. We'll cover some more about that later in the video. I'm going to cover now the text from the original 13th Amendment. Now, this is the biggest lie ever heaped upon the people of this country. You need to understand, this is a cartoon constitutional book. It's not even in here. No mention of it. See, they don't even want to mention it. They don't even want to mention it anymore. It's not going to be mentioned. They had to mention it for a couple hundred years, but now they're not going to mention it. We're going to see what Wikipedia has to say about it, because Wikipedia will say it just exactly the way the government wants them to say it. Yet we're the ones donating to keep Wikipedia alive. Okay. Anyway, text from the original 13th Amendment. And if you have a Constitution and you're looking at it, look at the 13th Amendment and you will see it is nothing like this whatsoever. It says, if any citizen of the United States shall accept, claim, receive, retain any title of nobility or honor, or shall, without the consent of Congress, accept and retain any present, pension, office, or emolument of any kind whatever from any emperor, king, prince, or foreign power, pay attention, such person shall cease to be a citizen of the United States and shall be incapable of holding any office of trust or profit under them or either of them. Now, think about this for a second. So according to this, they intended for people to be citizens, right? Well, I'm not so sure that these, governmental people are citizens either. I'm just saying the Constitution didn't want non-citizens running this country, clearly from this statement. That, by the way, I verified through a site that I go on to get old books. And some of these books are so old that they've been, facsimile, and you can't even trust, the letters. I've learned how to read the letters, because usually wherever there's an F, it was an S that was supposed to be there. Just little things like that. But just know that I've verified that this was in the Constitution. Make no mistake about it. And by the way, they had it in the Constitution for about 70 years before they ever began to make excuses for it and take it out. We're going to cover all that. But before we do that, I want to also mention that before there was the Constitution of the United States of America, which is exactly the way that they labeled it, there was something called the Articles of Confederation. Now, this goes back, according to this, 1777. But I honestly believe that these articles were also, they were before the Constitution. They were before the Constitution. Now, I don't care what they tell you. Just understand, before George Washington, there were 4 black presidents. So make sure that you don't just believe something because they teach you that in school, because they have lied to you about a lot of things. I'm not even going to begin to go there. Anyway, so I'm going to read this Articles of Confederation, which I believe was earlier than 1777. Doesn't matter. It's what the founding fathers wanted, and this is why they were given this land. And if we lose it, this is why you're going to lose it. And let me tell you something. Make no mistake about it. When you lose it, you will be displaced, and you will move somewhere else. You will likely go into a FEMA camp and be re-educated, where they can determine what they want to do with you. Okay. Now, I'm not afraid of them because I know, number one, I know two things. I know, number one, they've told everybody not to go to the light. So that means go to the light. I'm not talking about spirit people. I'm talking about soul people. If you have an idea that you are a soul person, not only are you going to be tried in this fire, but in the death thing, or unalive, whatever they want you to, I don't care what they call it. I call it whatever I want to call it. But the death thing, they're telling you not to go to the light. When they talk about the lake of fire and the sun and the this and the that and the so on and the so forth. They hate the sun. You need to understand that. They really hate soul people. I did some more work on my, Gospel of the Holy 12, and the word spiritual is used. I'm not even going to tell you how many. It's a lot. It's a lot. But the word soul is barely used at all in the Gospel of the Holy 12. Hello, people. Unclean spirits. Does anybody ever talk about unclean souls? I've never heard that in my life. Anyway, Articles of Confederation 1777. Article 6. So Article 6 in the Articles of Confederation before. This is not the Civil War, people. This is before the formation of this country. Okay? Articles of Confederation. I'm going to give you more information about that as we go. It says, no state without the consent of the United States in Congress assembled shall send any embassy to or receive any embassy from or into any conference, agreement, alliance, or treaty with any king, prince, or king or prince of or state, nor shall any person holding any office of profit or trust under the United States, or any of them except of any present emolument, office, or title, or any kind whatever, from any king, prince, or foreign state, nor shall the United States in Congress assembled or any of them grant any title of nobility. Now understand this. These are called the title of nobility or the nobility clause, okay? This is what they've erased from your Constitution. This is what they have basically hidden from you. And they will lie until they are blue in the face about this title of nobility thing. This is the protection that we would have had we had it. Now, clearly, that ain't what's going on now. Clearly, that ain't what's going on now. Since the British bankrupted us using the stock market, which, by the way, the British bankers, invented. I'm talking about them British bankers from Ukraine, from Canaan'sAre. Do you understand? Okay. It says the Articles of Confederation were adopted by the Continental Congress on November 15, 1777. I believe it was earlier. That's just my opinion. They don't want you to think that this was before the Constitution. They don't want you to think this is where the Constitution got this idea. But it makes perfect sense that our forefathers would have done anything to protect us from the intrusion of the British. And let me tell you something. There was a great story written in one of the books that I downloaded, which I will be reading to you, about what King George did here and how he was treacherous in his behavior towards his own people. So make no mistake about it. They will move you out of here because they don't care about their own people. Do you understand? They know race isn't a thing. Now let me just tell you at this moment. So when they come to the border, they're asked one question. Why are you here? And the person says, I came here to work. They immediately make them sign a document, an adhesion contract, that they will pay taxes. So what do? They give them a Social Security card. You think the Social Security card is United States because they keep lying to you. What you don't know, it's United Nations, and it always has been. Again, it's just the lies. See, I'll never trust a government that lies to their people on this level. I don't care where they put me. I'll put myself at the mercy of the Creator of the Most High to send somebody to come and get me. But I can tell you right now, it won't be a family member, because that's the other thing they do when you die. They send a family member after you so that you can follow them. Now, you're going to end up in the moon construct if you do that. And that's how I believe many RH positives ended up RH positive. Because you just went along willingly. Don't do it. Don't do it. And you will see, if I am hitting a nerve, these, so-and-sos at YouTube are going to lean on me hard. Because this is the kind of information they don't want you to know. Don't go towards the line and follow your family member that comes and gets you. How many movies have I seen, or TV shows? Jodie Foster, in her movie, where her father comes to get her, talk to her, woo, in the thing that drops and anyway, Contact is the name of the movie. And then one of my favorite shows about the kids that came down from the satellites. Same thing at the end of that one. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, so you see, title of nobility is a major, major deal. Now understand, if any of this is true, there's not a lawyer, there's not a judge, there's not a prosecutor, period. There's not a politician. Okay? Possibly the educational system, possibly the religious system are filled with these people who have titles. You understand? And though it may not be an old traditional title, it's a title from clearly a foreign government. Esquire, you receiving titles from the bar, that's against the Constitution. You must leave. You must leave. Go quietly now. Go. It's against the Constitution. It's against the original Constitution, which you have lied about and changed. And it's against, even before that, the Articles of Confederation. It was a thing that our forefathers wanted for us here. Now, it may turn out, since we've been such a blot on this place, and there have been so many of you who've been Freemasons, that they're just going to send us down the road to some other place. You know, they're not going to like the displacement, you know, but they're going to be in a land where they're going to be considered great again, possibly. It's a fungus. It's a yeast. That's what we are. We're a yeast, because we basically go around colonizing other folk to the point where we take away everything they have. But see, what's happening now is they're going to take it away from you, their own people. Think about it. Personally, take it. Take your shit and go. Take your shit and go. Honest to goodness. I really don't care. I just as soon not having to be. I just as soon not having to be within, you know, the confinements of unclean spirits. Okay? I don't want to be with unclean spirits. I don't even know why I'm here, unless it's to teach them something, but they never learn. They never learn. They're just greedy and entitled. And when we talk about the conversation between Cain and Abel, you'll understand why. Anyway, the Articles of Confederation were adopted by the Continental Congress on November 15, 1777. This document served as the United States' first Constitution. So it was the first Constitution. So I think they know what they were trying to do. It was in force from March 1781 to 1789. I guess it took time for these to become ratified. And the deal is that they're going to tell you that this was never fully ratified. Okay, yeah, right. That's why it was in the books for 70 years. It says the Titles of Nobility Amendment is a proposed and still pending amendment of the United States Constitution. This is from Wikipedia. The 11th Congress passed it on May 1, 1810, and submitted to the state legislatures for ratification. It would strip the United States citizenship from any citizen who accepted a title of nobility from an emperor, king, prince, or foreign power. Hello? Does anybody believe that's not what the founding fathers wanted? I mean, really. Unless you lied to us because you were a bunch of stinking Freemasons. But at a certain point, you say, you know, this is cruel and inhumane. I'm not gonna cotton to it. On two occasions between 1812 and 1816, it was within 2 states of the number needed to become part of the Constitution. Congress did not set a time for its ratification. So the amendment is still pending before the states. And I've written here a load of crap. It was ratified and showed up in many published books for many years. The Cains are lying and making up shit like the Nazis and Germany's did again, because they think if they say it enough times, you'll believe it. That's how they deal with you. That's how they deal with you. That's how they do it. They deal with you that way, and they always have, and they always will. They'll just keep saying it until you believe it. When you go to them re-education camps, that's what they're going to do to you. So background, it says this proposed amendment would amplify both Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8, which prohibits the federal government from issuing titles of nobility or honor, and Section 10, Clause 1, which prohibits the states from issuing them. So we're not even supposed to issue these titles. Do you understand? The bar. British accredited registry, people. Hello. Wake up. Now they're going to give you some distraction stories. Let's listen to their distraction stories. One theory for the Congress proposed the amendment is that it was in response to 1803 marriage of Napoleon Bonaparte's younger brother Jerome and Betsy Patterson of Baltimore, Maryland, who gave birth to a boy for whom she wanted aristocratic recognition from France. The child named Jerome Napoleon Bonaparte was not born in the United States, but in the United Kingdom. So, I don't get it. Why does he think that it's okay for him to be nobility here? Anyway, I'm not even going to continue. There's another story and another story. They just want to divert you so that they can divert you from the potential of you going, found it. Nonetheless, Representative Nathaniel Macon of North Carolina is recorded to have said when voting on the amendment that he considered the vote on the question of deciding whether or not we were to have members of the Legion of Honor in this country. The propose of this amendment was to prevent those holding foreign titles. And so, hey, thus the allegiance demanded by those titles from being able to run for office of government in the newly created republic. This was out of fear of the foreign powers bestowing those titles would use them as markers to call in favors to either pass or impede the passing of unfavorable laws. Think about this. The British have literally been like horseflies. They have swarmed us in every way possible from the beginning. This is for one reason and one reason only. It's all about money. Okay? And now that we find out that our tax dollars fund Israel, it's not a shock when we see that the Balfour Agreement from the British and the Rothschilds and all the, retarded, Ukrainians from Khazaria in Great Britain. I made a previous video about how these people acted. They're the type that literally will stick a knife in your back while you're turning to your face. Everything's great. There's a guy on TikTok that is literally exposing all of the government representatives who have dual citizenship with Israel. You wouldn't believe how many of our government and, big business are connected this way to Israel. The Titles of Nobility Amendment was introduced in the Senate by Democratic Republican Senator Philip Reed of Maryland, was passed on April 27, 1810, by a vote of 19 and sent to the House of Representatives for its consideration. It was passed by the House on May 1st, 1810 by a vote of 87-3. Having been approved by Congress, the proposed amendment was sent to the state legislature for ratification and was ratified by the following states. Now, there are 12 here. And they're saying that they had to have 13. So Virginia is not on this list. However, we know for a fact the nobility clause was in their own state government, probably to this day, though I doubt it, because honestly, I mean, it is right there where District of Columbia is. The amendment was rejected by Virginia. So why they got it in their own at that time? Why do they have it in their own state constitution? There's something very smelly in London town. February 14th, 1811 in New York, March 12th, 1812, Connecticut, May 13th, 1813, Rhode Island, September 15th, 1814. No other legislature has completed ratification action on it. How convenient. And now we're finding out that through the Bar Association, the British accredited registry has literally bilked us by an illegal Ponzi scheme, which isn't even allowed by the Constitution. Think about it. When the proposed amendment was submitted to the states, ratification by 13 states was required for it to become part of the Constitution. 11 had done so by early 1812. See, they always got a story. We didn't have enough. And yet Virginia, now New York can go. That's Mystery Babylon. That right there, if the Statue of Liberty didn't give you a big fat clue of what they did there when they first brought that damn thing in, you need to wise up, people. On February 27, 1818, President James Monroe communicated to Congress the records shown above. He and Congress were both satisfied that the required number of ratifications had not been reached. A law passed April 20, 1818, placed official responsibility for overseeing the amendment process into the hands of the Secretary of State, where it remained until 1950. Infiltration, yeast, people, we have fungus among us, and unfortunately, it's white people. And if you look at what a yeast, that's exactly what you get. Misconception, some people known as 13ers, have claimed that the titles of nobility amended actually became part of the Constitution. It, in fact, was mistakenly included as the 13th Amendment in some of the 19th century printings of the Constitution. How convenient. So look, between 1819 and 1867, the statutory law code of Virginia included it as well. Hello? The misconception has become significant because it is yoked with another misconception that a lawyer's use of the word or abbreviation of Esquire is a title of nobility acquired from a foreign power. Well, of course it is. Are you kidding me? They're getting rich off of bilking us. How could it not be? Just because they don't use that word there in Great Britain doesn't mean that they won't come up with a new word. Esquire, come on, man. You must think you are retarded. You are retarded. Not us. You are. And some of the litigants and others have tried to assert that lawyers have lost their citizenship or are disqualified from public office. Of course they are. They are not following the Constitution. We can know in so many ways. I mean, I haven't made these videos yet, but we can know in so many ways that what they do is unconstitutional. And it's not just one way. It's like over and over and over again. The era, none of them have oaths of office, proper oaths of office from the Constitution. It's because their oath is with the British. The era arose in 1815 when the Philadelphia printing house of Bjorn and Duane published under a government contract. So they were contracted by the government a 5-volume set entitled Laws of the United States. On page 74 of the first volume, the proposed amendment was printed as Article 13, along with authentic 11th and 12th amendments. There was no indication on the page that Article 13 had not yet passed into law. However, earlier in the volume on a sixth, Roman number 9 of the introduction, the editor said, there has been some difficulty in ascertaining whether the amendment proposed, which is stated as the 13th. See, here's what they did. They tricked people into believing it had passed. Because it had passed. But they went along with it, and then they rewrote history. Does that sound like anybody you know? That's an unclean spirit right there. That's Cain. That's an unclean spirit. It has been considered best, however, to publish the proposed amendment in its proper place, as if it had been adopted, with the explanation to prevent misconception. It appears that Byron and Duane's set of federal laws being widely distributed as a standard reference, some compilers of other books copied its text of the Constitution and not remembering or having skipped the caveat in the introduction. Again, very convenient when you consider this was already in the Articles of Incorporation, rather the Articles of Confederation, as the 13th Amendment. This error came to the attention of the U.S. House of Representatives in December 1817. At that time, the publishers of the pocket edition of the Constitution printed under government contract included the amendment as the 13th Amendment, at which time the House requested that the President ascertain and report on the true status of the proposed amendment, notwithstanding the official conclusion that the amendment had not been adopted. So now we got to have what? A civil war over this. So now muscles have to be flexed, and we have to know that the British are the boss here. So every time that they go to flex their Jesuit muscles and their Freemasonic muscles, this is what happens. The erroneous printing of the proposed amendment, as if adopted occasionally, occurred using the Americanized spelling and the punctuation of Byron's and Duane's, and omitting any ratification information, just like Byron and Duane, until sometime after 1845. In 1845, Byron and Duane's series of laws was replaced by an entirely new series. I'm sure that went down like a turd in a punch bowl, which is why we had the Civil War. Come on. United States statutes at large, which, and again, statutes at large, those are not laws. The very definition of statutes is an undoing. The creator of all beginning, the royal laws of the universe, which is common law, which is what the Articles of Confederation and the Constitution were all about. That's why white people are here to begin with. Had you not done this, you would never have been allowed to take over this land. Seems that the God of this country seems to have fun eradicating all these Illuminati governments who adopt secret combinations and literally kill each other down to the last man. While the people that survive are the ones that run to the woods, like the Cherokee who ran up on the mountain when they came to take them to Oklahoma, right? Which printed the Constitution with only 12 amendments in Volume 1 and put the unadopted titles of nobility, it's never unadopted, among the congressional resolution in Volume 2. See, they separate it. Ooh. Let's let our play. We can wait for hundreds of years if we have to. See how they do it? It's a scam of the highest order. In 1833, Associate Justice Joseph Story in the U.S. Supreme Court published the text of the Constitution in his commentaries on the Constitution. That publication included 12 amendments and clear statement in Article 959 that there were only 12 amendments adopted. There you go. Now we're going to have civil war, because you see, the British continually, the fruit flies from over there in Britain continually bug the crap out of you until they get their way, because they just keep lying till it sounds like truth. See how that works? That the Titles of Nobility Amendment had not been adopted, probably from a growing sense that it is wholly unnecessary. Not true. Look at where we are today. It's because of this reason we are here today. And it was in the Articles of Confederation, and they took it completely out? Are you kidding me? No way. No way. So Associate Justice Levi Woodbury mentioned it in a dissenting opinion that there were only 12 amendments ever made to the Constitution in Dillon versus Gloss 1921. Supreme Court explicitly, I wonder who got paid off in that one, described the titles of nobility as not having been adopted in Coleman versus Miller in 1939. The two dissenting justices similarly described the Titles of Nobility Amendment as unadopted. Well, they always have their man with title. You see? The majority and dissenting opinion described it as unadopted. No. It was adopted. Clearly, they have not mentioned in this article, not one time, the Articles of Confederation. Because that would hurt their little argument, wouldn't it? On March 2, 1861, the Congress proposed the Corwin Amendment, which, if adopted, would have prevented the federal legislation, including a future proposed amendment of the Constitution, that would have interfered with the abolished slavery. Okay, so we're going to put what we think will replace this so people will shut up. Because we did something wrong, and this will be our chance to right it. Abolish slavery. It is significant that although this proposal was already titled as the 13th Amendment, no one claimed that there already was an adopted 13th Amendment. Well, of course not. You know, you got the Brits. I'm talking about them with their tongues up the royal family's ass doing all this. On February 1st, 1865, the 38th Congress passed and sent to the states for ratification a proposed amendment that would become the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery. Well, you could put that anywhere. Ooh, this is our chance to, cover it over. See how it works? The assertion that the titles of nobility has been ratified by the required number of states has never been upheld in any court across the United States. Of course not, because Barr runs it. Barr runs it. Of course not, because they're already infiltrated. In the few instances in which courts have been confronted with the assertion that it was, those claims have been dismissed. Champion versus Towns, a tax protester, raised it in his defenses against the charge of tax evasion. The court replied that it would correct any misunderstanding plaintiff was concerning the text of the 13th Amendment of the United States Constitution. What is that? Think about it. What is it? It's re-education. We're going to re-educate them. We're going to re-educate them. That's what they've been doing here with all their lies about the shape of the earth and everything else. Literally, not one book that's ever been published has all truth in it. It's because they think that they are contractually obligated to lie. And when you hear Hidden Hand, always keep saying, well, gosh, I guess let's see what percentage of, lie I have to tell with this one to get, come on, man. You're just making up excuses and trying to put it off on somebody else. You're the one. You don't get to blame it on anybody else. You're the one who's ruined this place, and you're the one who's going to pay for it. Okay, I could go on. Oh, let's do this. These documents allege in great detail a complex conspiracy by the illegal monopoly, the American Bar Association. Yep. Which resulted in a takeover of the judicial system of this country. Yep. Both federal and state. Yep. By the ABA, American Bar Association. And its relative entities, including the Alabama State Bar Association, Alabama Unified Court System. It is then alleged that the ABA-controlled system is illegal and in violation of what is referred to as the missing 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which stated that any person who accepts the title of nobility forfeits his United States citizenship, and which amendment was ratified but subsequently hidden or exercised from the law. Since lawyers and judges accept the titles of Esquire, the Honorable, it is argued that they are not citizens and the entire judicial system is illegal. Furthermore, these documents contend that the charge of conviction in the case, capital murder of a police officer acting in the line of duty, is constitutional because it bestows upon police officers special rights or special designation of worth of life in contravention of the missing 13th Amendment. The document then explains that these are the reasons that Sibley and his wife refused appointed counsel on appeal. That's because they don't work for you, they work for the bar. Everyone knows this. Everyone. And refused to pursue matters any further in the court system that only Congress can give them relief. And of course, Congress is filled with lawyers, so that ain't going to happen. The Sibley court dismissed the appeal, concluding in part that the defendant was simply not seeking relief through the courts. Which is something you should remember. Always ask for relief. You don't want to just prove that they're lying. You want to get paid for it. Do you understand? Don't go to court on your high horse. Everything is commerce. Sibley versus Culliver was cited by the court in describing a prison inmate's attempt to use the title of nobility amendment to claim immunity from jurisdiction. Some plaintiffs have relied on what they have called the true 13th Amendment to argue that various individuals are not citizens. This version of the 13th Amendment allegedly states that individuals who accept title of nobility must renounce their United States citizenship. In other words, they got to go back to Great Britain. The court interprets Belt's claim of noble title and another nationality as further indications of his attempt to renounce his citizenship and therefore contest the government's ability to keep him imprisoned. You know, it just goes on and on. Now, this is the title. This is says, no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States. No person holding any office or profit or trust under them shall without consent of the Congress except of any present emolument, office, or title of any kind whatever from any king, prince, or foreign state. So that is Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8. From this is saying titles of nobility and the Constitution. So at some point, it's in Article 1, Section 9. Now, how it got there, I do not know. It says the Constitution prohibition on titles of nobility reflects both the American aversion of aristocracy and the Republican character of the government established by the Constitution. The clause thus complements other constitutional provisions, most notably the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments that prohibit invidious governmental distinctions between classes of American citizens. The Articles of Confederation, thank you, this is not Wikipedia. This is a different article I pulled. The Articles of Confederation and many Revolutionary era state constitutions contain prohibitions of titles of nobility and other systems of heredity, privileges. The further title of nobility clause substantially follows the article prohibition and was not subject to significant debate at the Constitutional Convention. As James Madison observed in the Federalist number 44, the prohibition with respect to title of nobilities is copied from the Articles of Confederation and needs no comment. Alexander Hamilton in the Federalist number 84 was only slightly more loquacious. Now, hello? You understand what's going on here? Nothing need be said to illustrate the importance of the prohibition of titles of nobility. This may truly be denominated the cornerstone of Republican government. Now, we know that they started a republic, not a democracy. How that democracy ever came to be is because of the stinking British, okay? For so long as they have been excluded, there can never be serious danger that the government will be any other than of the people. See, the left is of the mob. And after that, they will eat their tail. Trust me, that's what they do, and that's what they will do. You tell people would be better off in the republic because you would never have to worry about their dirty ass, heredity crap ever again. You wouldn't have to deal with it. It'd be over. In fact, they would literally, the mafia wouldn't show up at your shop trying to hit you up for cash ever again, because they'd be crushed immediately. Very few courts have had occasion to interpret the meaning of federal title of nobility clause. The Supreme Court has only discussed the title of nobility in passing. Oh, our little protection, that is the law of the land, didn't do its job, I see. As when the justices cite the clause to make a rhetorical point in the concurring of dissenting opinions. Yeah, like they believe in it, but they really don't, because they're, people, we've been flim-flammed by these people yet again. Meet the new boss, same as the old. How broadly to understand a title of nobility's clause prohibition thus remains an open, if perhaps an academic question. On a narrow reading, the clause merely prohibits a federal system of higher heredity, privilege along the lines of British aristocratic system, who got their favor from the Catholic Church. Let's just be certain about that. More broadly understood, the clause could preclude other governmental grants or enduring favor or disfavor to particular classes based on birth or non-merit-based criteria. Some commenters have suggested, for example, that the title of nobility might forbid admission preferences for legacy students at state universities or certain benefits that accompany receipt of the Medal of Honor after the adoption of the 14th Amendment. Challenges to governmental favoritism based on class, race, or other bases have usually relied on the Equal Protection Clause. There you go. People, I found in one of my very old books, 1800, a book that had contained within its name the Confederated Republic of America. Interesting how we look up that term online and you won't find it. a declaration by the representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled in 7/4/1776. They already had, I'm telling you, they already had the Articles of Confederation. Now, it's a little bit more detailed than what was in the Constitution. It says, no state without the consent of the United States and the Congress assembled shall send any embassy to or receive any embassy from or enter into any conference, agreements, alliance, treaty, or any king, prince, or foreign state, nor shall any holding any office of profit or trust under the United States or any of them, except of any present emolument, office, or title of any kind whatever, from any king, prince, or foreign state, nor shall the United States in Congress assembled, or any of them grant any title of nobility. That's way better. Okay. I can go a little further. So let me show you where all this stuff comes from. This is Genesis 3. And the serpent, okay, was wiser unto evil than all the beasts of the field which the Lord God had made. Now, keep in mind, so all of these serpents were here already, is what the Anunnaki are trying to say here. But the key comment is the serpent was wiser unto evil than all of the beasts of the field. Beasts of the field meaning cats, wolves, dogs, whatever. You know. And the woman beheld the angel, Samael, the angel of death, and was afraid. And she knew that the tree was good to eat of, and that it was medicine for the enlightenment of the eyes, and desired a tree by means of which to understand. And she took of its fruit, and she did eat. Now, somebody comes in and is talking to her, you know, I'm sure a backwards dog. What hast thou done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me with his subtlety and deceived me with his wickedness, and I did eat. So what did she do? So she ate the flesh of a, you know, animal. Whether it was cooked for her or she just ate it raw. Whatever the serpent wanted her to do, she did that. So as soon as she was able to eat that, okay, now she's corrupted from the inside out. So now the next thing to do is to have sex with her. So that'll be the next thing. And this is why she says here twice when asked, he says, the serpent beguiled me, that's sexual, and he deceived me with his wickedness, and I did eat. So there you go. Trying to explain this to you in a way where you can get it. It says, and between the seed of thy son and the seed of her sons, this is to the devil, this is the blood incompatibility clause of the Bible. This is Genesis 15. It says, I will put enmity between thee and the woman, which we see in the form of a blood incompatibility, and between the seed of thy son and the seed of her sons. And it shall be that when the sons of the woman keep the commandments of the law. Now, what are they? The royal laws of the universe are common law. This is what the Cains refused to keep. And I'm going to explain why before we finish. And it shall be when the sons of the woman keep the commandments of the law, they will be prepared to smite thee on the head. But when they forsake the commandments of the law, thou wilt be ready to wound them in their hair. Nevertheless, For them there shall be medicine, but for thee there shall be no medicine. Now, here's the catch. Here's how the mafia works. Guess who the medicine will be? That's going to be the so-called Jesus, the Mashiach, okay? Whichever one of them Anunnaki that they send up. So that's your savior. So you're getting saved by the mafia, just so you know, people. This is an Anunnaki book through and through and through and through and through again. Every time they say God, they're talking about a backwards dog. Every time they say the Lord God, they're talking about the main backwards dog. That's Anubis. And by the way, what's his name? Oh gosh, I've read a few of his books. I can't remember his name now, but he recently passed away. And you know, he literally has got. He's saying that dog God will be here in 2025. I'm just telling you. We'll do a video on that. And Adam called the name of his wife it says here Hava. That can't be it because there's no V's. It's either Haba, right? Or it's Hawa. Okay? It's not going to be Hava. It's either Haba. And see, they don't want you to see the B there. Because, you know, Adam's the A, Adapa's the A, and TT related to the dragon woman Tiamat, which is the moonster mom, you know, from the original Adam. Okay, she's related, but she's bone of his bone. So he doesn't have to call her Eve. He can call her whatever he wants to. And if he wants to say Haba, he can call her whatever he wants to because she's bone of his bone. It's that simple. So she is the RH negative woman. Regardless, she's the RH negative woman. Now you could make a case that she's an O for the Ha, and you could say that she's a B for the Ba. Okay, but they just don't want you to know that much. You got to have somebody like me to help you get that right. And I've only been teaching this for 15 years. So what are you going to do? It says, who had desired the angel, and she conceived and bare Cain, because she desired the angel. And she said, I've acquired a man from the angel of the Lord. Well, that'd be an angel, right? So now what is Cain going to be? He's going to be different than Adam. He's going to be different than Abel. But he looks just like Abel in the Anunnaki Rock Opera, which I put together for you. And you're going to hopefully link on it and go see for yourself. And she added to bear from her husband his twin, because they looked alike, even Abel. And it says here, Habel. Now, you know, there's a lot of people that want to link this up to, what's his name? Bel, which is stupid Marduk. Because of his willingness to, you know, raise animals and to literally sacrifice animals to the gods. They're feeding the Anunnaki. That should tell you they are not gods. If they're eating animals, they're not gods. Do you understand? There's no way the creator of all beginning needs to eat animals. Who is it that eat their tails? Exactly. Okay, let's continue. And Cain brought the produce of the earth, the seed of cotton, and an oblation of the first things before the Lord, in other words, vegetables. Now, Cain was a vegetable farmer. He was not a fruit farmer. I'm just telling you. Why? Because they require a certain amount of sulfur in their food, so they have to have vegetables because that gives them the sulfur that they need. As to whether or not we should eat vegetables, you're going to have a little bit of their DNA in you. I don't see where it's going to hurt. But I eat mostly, fruit and vegetables, period. And I do eat some grains, which sometimes are considered fruit, with their seed within them. Get it? And Abel brought the firstling of the flock and of their fat. It's talking about the milk. Just saying. Apparently the Anunnaki like the feta. Okay? They specifically like sheep because that's from where they're from outside the circle of the earth, which is all they are, that's what they eat. They eat poor little sheeps. Marduk has made himself into a ram. It's funny. It was pleasing to the Lord. He gave his countenance to Abel and to his oblation, but to Cain and to his oblation, he has no countenance. Well, that is the most stupid thing that a so-called God, or if you're trying to think of a benevolent individual, would ever do. Because you don't do that. You don't do it. Unless you know something that the Book of Mormon tells you that they were already planning to kill Abel. Just saying, it's there. Go look. If thou doest thy work well, will thy guilt be forgiven thee? But if thou doest not thy work well in this world, now notice it's all about work, people. Thy sin is retained into the day of the great judgment, and the doors of thy heart lieth thy sin. And in thy hand I have delivered the power over evil passion. So in other words, Cain has the power over evil passion. And into thee shall be the inclination thereof, that thou mayest have authority over it to become righteous or to sin. Now, just like I've said many times before, I don't necessarily believe every unclean, spirit is going to burn in the fire. Okay, I don't necessarily believe that, or something bad is going to happen to them because of statements like this. Because I haven't given up on some of the Cains yet. But I tell you, I look around and it's very difficult. I tell you what, I hope I never have to watch the TV news ever again. And Cain said to his brother, come and let us two go forth in the field. And it was that when they two had gone forth in the field, Cain answered and said to Abel, I perceive that the world was created in goodness. But it is not governed or conducted according to the fruit of good works. For there is respect to persons in judgment. Well, I mean, they just humiliated Cain in front of all of these so-called retarded backwards dogs and their wives sitting on thrones. I mean, hello. But see, that's the way they operate. They drive wedges. Therefore, it is that thy offering was accepted, and not mine accepted, with good will. And Abel answered and said to Cain, in goodness was the world created, and according to the fruit of good works it is governed. And there is no respect in persons in judgment, but because of the fruits of my works were better than thine. My oblation before thine hath been accepted with goodwill. Now, here's the problem with this whole thing. First of all, raising animals to be sacrificed to Anunnaki backwards dogs. So Cain has got a perfectly good point here. And if he hadn't already plotted to kill his brother, this may have gone a different way. Now, again, you won't see this in the Bible. You got to read the Book of Mormon. But see, all of this is designed to divide and conquer. That's all they're trying to do. Cain answered, and he said unto Abel, there is neither judgment, nor judge, nor another world, nor will good reward be given to the righteous, nor vengeance be taken out on the wicked. And Abel answered, and he said to Cain, there is a judgment, there is a judge, there is another world, there is a good reward given to the righteous, and vengeance shall be taken on the wicked. Okay, that is exactly what the stinking lawyer told me when I asked to get out of their system. You see? Oh, you can die, you can kill people if you want. You won't have to pay the price for it. Because, that's not how it works. I'm like, huh? Really? Talk to John the Baptist, who cut the heads of, 300 prophets of Baal down at the river, who was Elijah when he did it. And in that one life with the so-called Jesus, he had his head cut because of a dancer. Now think about this for a second. Does he not have 299 more heads to go? Just saying. And because these words had contention upon the face of the field, and Cain rose up against Abel and his brother, and drave a stone into his forehead and killed him. And backwards, the Lord of the backwards gods said to Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not, am I my brother's keeper? Well, yes, you are. You are your brother's keeper. There's no answer here. But why do you think that you're doing the, Canaan's job and being a servant to your brethren? Why are you cursed? Now, understand in this book it says you're cursed because you didn't provide, a fourth son. But that's not true. You were already cursed because Canaan is Cain in another lifetime, as he's Esau in another lifetime. And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of the bloods, so they're right here, the voice of the bloods, how many bloods is that? At least 2, right? That's AB right there. Get it? ABL. It's not Baal, a Baal. It's ABL. Get it? Now that's hominid blood. Doesn't matter what your race is, that's how it works. But you see, the voice of the bloods of the murder of your brother, which are swallowed up in the sod, crieth before me, and from the earth. Would the Anunnaki know something like that? I think they would. They know who's AB, who's A and B and O. Of course they do. And now, because thou hast killed him, thou art cursed from the earth. Well, that's why Canaan was cursed. Why they don't just tell you that, I don't know. But they don't want you to think that the public servants are the Cains, obviously, but I'm telling you they are. So there you go. Which hath opened up the mouth and received the bloods, there it is again, the bloods, not one blood. See, Adam was not an AB. He was an A. You cannot get an AB from an A and an O. You can only get it from an A and a B. So again, that is the meaning of bone of my bone, blood of my blood. That's the meaning. The two are twain and they'll never be separated. My mother was a B, my father was an A. Neither one of them were AB. Now, an AB could marry an A or a B and have ABs, but not O's. It doesn't work that way. You will never get an AB from an O. And if you've got proof of it, I'm happy to listen to it. So here's where my Anunnaki Rock Opera. Notice Cain and Abel are not physically alike mom and dad, but they are looking like twins, as the Bible says. Misleading, but still true. Genesis 5, and Adam lived 130 years, and he begot Seth, who had the likeness of his image. Likeness. In other words, he was Rh negative. And he had, well, Seth is supposed to be like Abel, a replacement for Abel. And they had children before Seth. So they were trying to get the replacement. But, just so you know, of his mother and father, he would have had the likeness of their image and of their similitude. And remember, they become twain at marriage. For before had Hava born Cain, who was not like him. No, definitely an Rh positive, and probably an O positive. And Abel was killed by his hand, and Cain was cast out. Neither is his seed genealogicalized in the book of the genealogy of Adam. But afterwards there was born one like him, and he called his name Seth. There you go. I'm almost done, people. Almost done. Genesis 6, Jerusalem. This is from the Jerusalem Bible, and the word of, backwards dog lord said that generations which are to arise shall not be judged after the manner of the generations of the deluge. In other words, they're not going to be killed off like that with water, which is to be destroyed and exterminated and finally blotted out. Now, they will be destroyed and exterminated, and that's what the Book of Mormon is about. And if you look in all them Indian mounds, historically, that all of our cities were built over so that the British could put themselves over the people that were here, just like that movie Poltergeist, where they built lots over Indian burial grounds. Have I not imparted my spirit to the sons of men? Now, it doesn't say the sons of the men and the sons of serpents. Doesn't say that. Doesn't say that. But who is this speaking? Well, this isn't the creator of the Most High. This would be Archus, because Archus is the spirit god, the archangels. Now, accordingly, Michael is an archangel. He's also the arch strategy. So are they talking about him? I don't know. Because they are flesh. That they may work good works, but they do works of evil. Now, this is because, let me explain to you why this was. So the Nephilim took particular enjoyment out of teaching men how to eat the way they ate. The way they ate was they always had furnaces. Nimrod had a furnace. Pharaoh always had a furnace. Okay? Just saying. And that's where they cooked not just animals, but eventually they cooked people. I'm not lying. Actually, they even sacrificed firstborns there. They were trying to get rid of the likes of me. You see? Behold, I have given them a prolongment of 120 years that they may work repentance. But they have not done it. So they had 120 years they were given to work repentance. How much time do you think they've been given here? Many of them, Freemasons, are in Mormonism. You'd think they'd spread the word and go, ooh, 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 ooh. We got to be good, guys. We got to be good. Ooh, 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 ooh. We got to be good now. But they haven't done it. Shemyaza and Uzziel. Now this is going to be Azazel and Shemyaza, who fell from heaven, were on the earth in those days, and also after the sons of the great had gone into the daughters of men. So the sons of the great are the spirit, Venus meisters. They think that they're from Venus. The first light in the morning. We're going to talk about that in a second. They bear unto them, and these are they who are called men of the world, men of names, sometimes referred to as men of renounce. They're Nephilim. They're giants, people, because there's a recipe for that. You're going to blend O's, okay, with RH positives. Angels and serpents. You get it? That's how it's done. That's how you make a giant. So Shaq, that's all you are, brother. You're just a giant. Okay? Enjoy it while it lasts. Genesis 6:11. And the earth was corrupted through the inhabitants thereof, who had declined from the ways of righteousness before the Lord. And the earth was filled with Raphaim. Now that's another word for Nephilim. It's basically a word that's closely related with raping, which is another word that's closely related with Paul's statement about being snatched away. Just saying. Paul was a big-time liar, just so you know. We caught him in 3 different lies. In my study, I hadn't done it in years, and trust me, I guarantee I deleted the video. I can make it again. I still got the notes, and I probably still have the video. And the Lord beheld the earth, and it was low. And lo, it was corrupt. For all flesh had everyone corrupted his way upon the earth. Well, that's going to mean that there ain't no more RH negatives. That's what it's going to mean. It's going to be down to a handful. And the Lord said unto Noah, the end of flesh has come before me, because the earth was filled with Raphaim by their evil works. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth, make thee an ark of the woods of cedars. We know Enki did that. We know Enlil was responsible for the destroying some of the ice walls of Antarctica. Why would he do that? Because you can build them back. I mean, clearly they're using those ice walls, I mean, why are all of these walls white? Now, there is a couple that are dark, like this one in Saturn is dark. There's a couple that are dark, but for the most part, they're white. Well, that's because they're made of ice. I mean, come on. So Genesis 9, and he said, accursed is Canaan. Now, Canaan is Cain in another regeneration, who is his 4th son, and a serving servant he will be to his brethren. And he said, "Blessed be the Lord." Well, why is Canaan? Why does Canaan Cain in another regeneration or a reincarnation, whatever you want to call it, why does he have to be a servant now? Remember his question back there? Am I my brother's keeper? In the King James, it says that he will get his brother whatever his brother wants because he killed him. Now, it doesn't say because he killed him, but people, come on. You know, please, just open your mind. And it's okay if you hear it from me first. Go find out for yourself. And he said, "Accursed is Canaan, who is the fourth son, a serving servant." This is Genesis 9. "That he shall be to his brethren." And he said, "Blessed be the Lord, the backwards dog of Shem, whose work is righteous. Therefore shall Canaan be a servant unto him. The Lord shall beautify his borders." Well, why? Because his border is between Japheth, who he is, and Shem, who gets the well-favored 4-season land. Okay? Japheth has to live up in the ice. "And his son shall be proselyted and dwell in the schools of Shem. And Canaan shall be a servant to them." So Canaan is really from the hot lands, but he's going to be, wait a minute, yeah, but he's going to be a servant. So there's one thing happening with Japheth, and there's another thing happening with Canaan. So Japheth is the proselytes, and Canaan is the servants unto Shem. In other words, whatever I tell you to do, you're supposed to go and do for me. So if I tell you to cease and desist on all activity dealing with unconstitutional behavior, if I tell you that, you have to do it. I'm telling you now. I'm telling you now. I'm telling you now. Take it for what it's worth. Because if you think being a servant in this world was terrible, obviously you do, because you do a crappy job of it. You think we work for you. Clearly that is the case. You ain't going to like Chihuahua world. I'm just telling you. Somebody tried to get on me because they think, what are you going to do? You going to punish your Chihuahuas? Yeah. You know, I will not spare the rod. Why would I want to spoil the child? But I'm not really going to hurt them. I'm just going to get their attention. You understand? I'm going to teach them common law. Let me tell you something. These little dogs don't know common law. Okay? They're unfriendly to everyone. That's what you're earning here, Canes. You're earning your chance to be in my Chihuahua world. So, like it or not, you got an opportunity here to do the right thing. Do it now. Don't provide us with the worst that this place has ever been. Because we know that's coming. We can see it. Writing's on the wall. I'm telling you, do what I say with regard to the Constitution and restore it. Every bit of it. And we'll find out if we can get along. Restore it. I'm telling you right now. Do it. Okay, so I don't really have any more time, but I have for our next video already some lovely choice words from the Gospel of the Holy 12. Actually, you know what? I could do this real quick. No, I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it. So thank you very much for your time and your attention. Sorry I went a little bit over, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much. I'll put the links on I suggest you look at the links. They go perfectly with what I am teaching in this video. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.